You can think of a matrix like a small little mini spreadsheet. Usually there are a certain number of rows and columns, and often people will put the matrix in brackets. That's the most common way to see those. In the brackets, there's going to be, again, a certain number of rows and columns, and you'll have some values in there, most of the time numbers. Occasionally you'll see variables too. So for instance, I could put in these numbers into this matrix. The rows are horizontal. So there is row 1 and row number 2. And then this way, we call those columns, each one of these vertical set of numbers. So this matrix has 2 rows and 3 columns. The size or the dimension of the matrix is always listed out row by column with the number of rows first. So this matrix that we are looking at right here, it is a 2-row by 3-column matrix. That's a lot of writing, so usually people don't write down the word row and the word column, and then for the word by here in the middle, we use what looks like the elementary school X, meaning multiplication. So we would say that that matrix right there is 2 by 3, and we would just list it out that way. It's understood that the first number here is always going to be the number of rows, and the second number is always the number of columns. There are 6 entries into this matrix, and each one of those entries is called an element. So we have 6 elements. That's usually how they're referred to, at least in many textbooks. When you talk about what those look like, we use a lowercase a, and then as a subscript, the row and column number. So for instance, A with a subscript of 1 and then a 3, that is the element in row number 1 and column number 3. So in our matrix here, if we take a look at row number 1 and column number 3, the number that is in that position is a -1. So you could say A sub 1, 3 is equal to a -1, or in other words, the element in row 1, column 3, that is a -1. That gets us through some of the introductory material on matrices, specifically some vocabulary dealing with each one of the kind of different aspects. So we have our matrix. That's basically a spreadsheet. Rows are horizontal, columns are vertical. When you list out the dimension or the size, it always needs to be row by column. And you can refer to each element or each entry in the matrix by using an A with a subscript. The subscript numbers are going to be row by column, just like our matrix dimension is.